Good evening, everybody. Welcome to tonight's Tutor to You revision session on issues and debate. I'm Laura. We've got Anna with us tonight, and we've got Laura as well, who I'm sure you've all seen most of this exam season. Issues and debates, tricky topics, so we've got lots of fast-paced revision coming for you tonight. Your exam's in 5 days, 3rd of June it is, so plenty of time to switch your attention to paper 3, forget everything that's gone on in paper 1 and 2, and we're going to get cracking straight away. So who's kicking us off tonight?
Me.
Anna is. Okay. Right then, answers in the chat. Try and keep up. We've got lots of challenging questions for you tonight. Good luck, everybody.
Okay, folks. So I'm going to just start you off with a bit of an MCQ quiz. So first question is, which term describes research that is focused only on males? So you've got your choice of androcentric, beta bias, alpha bias, or ethnocentrism. So when you're ready, start to throw some answers in. Okay. So the correct answer that you're looking for on that should be the top one, which is androcentric. Now, you might kind of come across, there are some other pieces of research that are just female samples. I think probably most famously is like Moscovici, and that would be considered gynocentric. Okay, next question. So question 2, which of the following refers to minimizing the differences between genders? You've got your choices of alpha bias, beta bias, gender bias, or androcentrism. Okay, it really is quite easy to get these two confused, isn't it? Okay, so the one that we're looking for there is B, beta bias. So yeah, just to flag that up, is really easy just to get those two terms confused, and always ensure that you've got a few examples of research that's beta bias in the bag there, should you need to throw it out in the exam. Okay, your next question is question 3. Okay, so we've got some would argue that free will and determinism are compatible. What is this called? So slightly more difficult now. We've got A, free will, B, an interactionist approach, C, soft determinism, or D, environmental determinism. So when you Okay, now the answer that you're looking there for is C, which is soft determinism. Now, this is basically just about knowing the specification and understanding them. And again, it's important with soft determinism that you can pull out an example of soft determinism that might fit neatly, for example, with one of your approaches. Okay, question 4 is going to be even harder. Okay, so we've got which of the following demonstrates the scientific determinism emphasis on causal explanations? And if you're wondering what that means, you might not know the specification well enough because that terminology is pretty much big emphasis on causal explanations. We've got Bulbous 44 Thieves, Little Hands, Schaefer and Emerson, and Loftus and Palmer. So take your time with this one. You might also want to think about the justification for why you're choosing a particular answer. Okay. Now, the answer that we're looking for here is D, Loftus and Palmer. Now, Loftus and Palmer's research would fit with this because it's a laboratory-based piece of research. We've got the 44 Thieves, kind of naturalistic, Little Hands, a case study, and Schaefer and Emerson, kind of observations/interviews. So Loftus and Palmer, laboratory-based piece of research would fit with that one. Okay, next one is number 5. MZ concordance rates are never 100%. Which debate does this link with? So you've got nature nurture, free will versus determinism, holism and reductionism, and ideographic nomothetic. Now that should be a pretty straightforward one for you, hopefully. Okay, so the answer we're looking for that one is A, nature and nurture. And so just thinking on the specification, you're maybe thinking about, oh, we could look at the heritability coefficient with this one, just to describe the interaction between nature and nurture. Okay, question 6 is all about knowing the spec. So question 6 is, identify the types of reductionism that are quoted in the specification. Okay, so we've got A, interactionist, environmental, stimulus response, biological. B, environmental, biological, psychic. C, biological, holism and psychic. And D, biological and environmental. So how well do you know the specification here? Okay, so your answer is it's D here. Now, just kind of thinking about that, you do have other types of reductionism that you might have learnt about in your lesson. For example, you might have talked about machine reductionism with the cognitive approach, but that isn't one explicitly that's named on the specification. Okay, on to your next question. Question 7. So we've got identify the BPS ethical guidelines. So what they explicitly refer to in that documentation. I'll just give you a few moments with that there on screen, and I'll come for your answers in just a moment. Okay, so the answer that we're actually looking for here is going to be C for this question. Okay, right then, on to question 8. Okay, so which of these are a feature of an ideographic approach? We've got qualitative, quantitative, experiments, and general laws. So take a moment just to think about those. Which would they align with the ideographic approach? Okay, the answer here, pretty straightforward, is going to be A. The other 3, B, C, and D, are all going to be features of a nomothetic approach. Okay, on to question 9. Okay, we've got what is encouraged when Indigenous people study their own culture. And if you're looking at that thinking, I don't know what the term Indigenous people is, or maybe you haven't come across it in your lessons, or maybe you've forgotten about it, it would just refer to people of that culture kind of being part of the research. So we've got ethno, imposed ethic, cultural relativism, and universality. Your correct answer is it's going to be C, so cultural relativism. And then we're on to question 10. Which approach can be used to demonstrate both nature and nurture? So there you go. So just take a look through the approaches there. Behaviorism, biological. You've got SLT and cognitive. And which is nature and nurture? You should get this one. So the answer for this one is going to be D, cognitive. Now, some of you are probably sitting there thinking, oh, but biological is a bit nature and nurture there because of genotype and phenotype, and you'd be absolutely correct in that. But I guess we could argue that cognitive would be more nature and nurture. Okay, excellent. So I
Thanks for
think
that, Anna.
okay, go on.
You're on the chat box there. Just want to say, a lot of you at the start were saying how you weren't feeling confident on certain topics, but just to remind you, obviously, issues and debates is one of those topics in paper 3 that, well, hopefully you know this already from paper 1 and 2, but it is one of those topics you're going to recycle into all of your optional topics in paper 3. So it's a really, really kind of sturdy topic that you really want to be kind of strong on, okay? So it's really positive to see some really good answers coming up today. So the next game we're going to play is 3, 2, 1. Some of you have played this before, but if you're new to it, what I am going to give you is 2 minutes, and you're going to have 2 minutes to answer the following questions. So the questions are, you have to identify 3 types of gender bias, 2 key terms quoted in the specification for culture bias, and 1 term that describes the belief that all humans are alike. What will probably work best, guys, is if you input all of your answers to the 3, 2, and 1 in one go. It'd just be easier to keep track and read them.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Okay, so we've got loads of answers coming through. I think it was actually Daisy who got the first, all 3 of them correct. So Daisy's got androcentrism, alpha, beta bias. I know a lot of you also had those answers. We've also got for number 2, Daisy said cultural relativism and ethnocentrism. And then lastly, well done, last one was a bit of a hard one, universality. So let's reveal the answers here so you can check them with what you wrote down. So we've got 3 types of gender bias, androcentrism, alpha and beta. And number 2, we've got the key terms quoted in the spec for culture bias, ethnocentrism, and cultural relativism. Excellent. And the last one, which is our universality, the term that describes the belief that all humans are alike. So really good effort, guys. I'm going to hand you back over to Anna now for a 9-question grid game.
Okay, just to pick up one of the questions actually there in the chat was, I mentioned gynocentrism. Someone says, do we have to know that? No, you don't have to know it. It's not a term that's on the specification, but you might know it. Okay, right. So what we'll do with this kind of 9 questions grid is we can kind of just go through them one at a time. And if you just want to start dropping your answers into the chat bar as we're doing this. So if we start with the first one, and the first is what is meant by levels of explanation. And I imagine any of you that have done the 2023 paper can probably answer this one. So let's start with that first one. So levels of explanation, what are we thinking it means? Also think about where it might relate to in terms of the specification, in terms of what you're studying, etc. Now, I can see some right answers coming through straight away. So well done to Toby. You've kind of hit the nail on the head there, Toby. It's related to the reductionism and holism debate. So we're looking at those kind of different levels of explanation from the reductionist right through to the more holistic at the top. Okay. Question 2, nice easy one hopefully, is just define determinism, and I'll give you a extra thing. Can you do it without using the word determinant in your answer? So what does determinism actually mean without using the word determined? I can see a few of you using the word determined there on your answer. Okay, so what is determinism? Okay, got some good answers coming through there. Okay, yeah, fantastic. We've all got the right idea. It's essentially the idea, that idea that we've got no control or little choice in the course of actions that we choose. All right, bit of a trickier one here then. So I want 2 approaches that take an ideographic approach to explaining behaviour, and I'd try and pick the most ideographic examples if you can, because you could argue there are 3, but let's go for the 2 most ideographic of the approaches. Ah, good. We're getting lots of right answers through here on the chat. Fantastic, folks. Well done. Yeah, so we've got your big ones really are the psychodynamic approach and the humanistic approach. Well done there. And if you're struggling with knowing what approach is what, just think about the way they conduct the research. Okay, question 4, provide an example of a topic/study that demonstrates an interactionist approach. Again, quite tricky here. What are you going to come up with? So maybe an area of study that you've come across or piece of research that would fit as interactionist. Let's have a look at what some of your ideas coming through here are. Ah, yeah, fantastic. So we've got loads of you talking about the diathesis stress model. We've got answers here to do with Maguire as well. Fantastic. Yeah, a lot of you have gone down. Oh, I've just seen the answer that I was looking for. I think it was a funky pigeon. Well done. We've got the PKU, and also somebody there mentioned epigenetics as well. That's fantastic. Okay, 5 again, quite a tricky one. So I want 2 topics in attachment where the determinism versus free will debate applies. What are you going to pick for those ones? Let's see what examples you've been planning out. Okay. Ah, nice. Okay, yeah, we've got some good ideas here. We've picked up Bowlby straight away. Fantastic. What else have we got here? A few of you saying kind of Ainsworth, stages of attachment. There's one, there we go, Bowlby's 44 Thieves. Yeah, the big ones are going to be Bowlby's monotropic theory, maternal deprivation hypothesis, and then you've got that kind of big one, last bullet point in specification for attachment, influence of early attachment on later relationships. Right, number 6. What is meant by socially sensitive research? And give an example from a social influence topic. Now remember, this is on the specifications part of issues and debates for social sensitivity, but what does it actually mean? Ah, okay, yeah, I've got a few coming through. I really like that example there of kind of Yerkes Dodson as the kind of World War II thing. Wouldn't necessarily be from social, but I like that. Um, Okay, so just to clarify, a couple of you are saying that, it's research that might break the ethical code. That's not really what socially sensitive research is. It's research that has wider implications. So, you might talk about, for example, Milgren's research and how it was a little bit socially sensitive because it might have justified certain behaviours. Right, question 7 is what is meant by cost-benefit analysis? I'm sure the economics students here know the answer to that one, but we're talking psychological here. So cost-benefit analysis. Okay, so we've got a nice one there. We've got whether the ethical implications of a study outweigh the benefits. I really like that one. And that's kind of the route that I go down to. We're thinking, does what I stand to gain from this study outweigh the risks and costs of doing that study in the first place? And then we've got 8, identify as many issues and debates that can be used to evaluate Mary Ainsworth's strange situation. Throw a few out in the chat there. You'd be hard pressed not to find an issue and debate that comply, but some are more appropriate than others. So let's see what you've got. Excellent. Yeah, we've got a culture bias. Lots of you saying culturally biased, actually. A few talking about social sensitivity of that research. Oh, great. From Rosie there. Well done. Talking about an imposed ethic. Okay, yeah, so a lot of you are talking about kind of links to social sensitivity, wider ethical implications to do with that. And then we've got the cultural bias, the nature versus nurture. You're thinking about the temperament as well, remember, of those children. And then nomothetic idiographic related to how she carried out that research. Part 1, what is meant by the term reductionism? Try not to use the term reduced in your answer. Okay, let's see what you've got for that one. Okay, sorry, Lily, if Rose you in the answer. Okay, yeah, I really like this. Yeah, you really nailed this. It's the breaking down. Fantastic. So the breaking down behavior into its most simplest levels there. Okay, fantastic. Well done on that, folks. I have to say, I'm really impressed with the knowledge that you've shown there. Well done on that. I'm going to pass you over now.
Okay, so we're going to do some exam practice next. I'm going to give you a STEM. I'm going to read it out together. So we've got here, Humphreys carried out research into the practices and social interactions of gay men meeting up in a public toilet for sex. He posed as a gay man and met with and talked to his participants. To find out more about his participants' backgrounds, he took their car number plates and used a contact in the police to find out where they lived. Humphreys concluded that most of the stereotypes about gay men were untrue and that their public sexual practices were not harmful to anyone. So the question here for 6 marks is, this is an example of sensitive research. Briefly explain how this is socially sensitive and the implications of this research. Okay, so let's see what you've got, guys. How would you answer this? What would be your content here to combat this 6 marker? No, you're not meant to know about Humphreys. This is just merely some exam practice with a STEM that we've given you. Okay, so yep, you don't need to know the study, guys. Remember, do be mindful that AQA will give you STEMs and information that you might not recognise as well, okay? That doesn't mean you need to know them, all right? You just need to be able to apply your knowledge that you've learned in psychology. Yeah, a lot of you saying really unethical. They didn't know they were being observed. Deception, yep, some good terminology coming through. Discriminatory potentially as well, Jess, yeah, really good. Yeah, did he even gather consent? Really good question, yeah. Yeah, and Stefania needed to consider how this can impact people who are homosexual. Some really, really good answers coming through. Let's have a look at what we've suggested then for line here. So we've got, as a lot of you have identified rightly, breach of privacy. Yeah, there's obviously going to be a knock-on effect here with loss of public trust in public places like toilets. Definitely deception. He was posing as a gay man. And obviously, you know, when we're talking about the implications of this research in terms of it being socially sensitive on a wider scale, we're talking about things like impact on the gay community, which I know a few of you have already mentioned. So used to increase or lessen stereotypes or prejudice for that matter. And we've also got, of course, it's invasive. Contacting the police to get car number plates, completely invasive. breach of privacy, all of those things, and confidentiality as well. So yeah, really, really, really good answers coming through there. Okay, so let's have a look at another exam skill. We're going to look at next, it's called Know the Details. So I'm just going to bring a couple of kind of terms up on the board that are often tricky to answer in the exam. So what I'd like to know from you is, what does it mean? The scientific emphasis on causal explanations. So can anybody kind of debunk that and explain it in kind of layman terms to me? What does that mean? Scientific emphasis on causal explanations. So Emily, you've said, can you talk about ethical issues for socially sensitive research? If you like, ethics is kind of the umbrella and socially sensitive kind of comes within that remit, if you like. So yes. Okay, so nobody's put cause and effect. Really good. Yep, Lily, determinism can be used to predict behaviour, which is scientific. Really good answers, guys. This is really good. Yeah, a lot of you are saying about cause and effect. Okay, let's have a reveal of our answer then for this one. What does this mean? So science is heavily deterministic in its search for causal relationships or explanations. It seeks to discover whether X causes Y. And as some of you have rightly said, I can see Charlie there has put independent variables. Very good. So what we mean by whether X causes Y is whether the IV causes changes in the DV, which is our outcome, our measurement at the end. Okay. Great. Perfect. We're going to have a look at a decode the question next, which again is one that looks really easy. When you look at this and you read it, you think, God, that's really easy to AO1. But this actually did come up. I can't remember which year it was, but it's come up and it wasn't answered very well, actually. And students kind of did of what this means in terms of a debate. So I'd be really interested to see how you guys answer this one. So if you got this question in the exam for 2 marks, explain what's meant by the nature versus nurture debate. How would you answer it? Yeah, Ria, well done. Yeah, is the debate part people didn't focus on. Yeah, yeah. So Daisy's saying whether our behaviour is innate or a product of our environment. Whether, yeah, we could expand on this kind of whether our behaviour a bit more. Let's see. Yeah, Cassia, you've said environmental factors versus internal factors. Often that's what a lot of students kind of come to within their answer, but we want to go a step further than that in our understanding of what we mean by debate here. Yeah, so we've got a really good answer here. How much nature and nurture influence behaviour. So that's really good. How much? If you like, a really good term here is to what extent. And I think Cactus, you've put to what extent behaviour is influenced by environment. We would say and or there, actually, I would say inherited factors. Yeah, so you're getting the idea here. Really good. Let's have a look at what we might actually highlight in this question if we were given this in the exam. So obviously explain what is meant by, and then obviously the topic here is nature-nurture debate. So in terms of the answer that we've got here, guys, very similar to a couple of your answers that you've shown on the board here. So our answer that we've said is, it is the idea that behaviour is governed by both. And what students kind of miss out in the exam is they AO1 nature and then they AO1 nurture separately and they say, yeah, that's the debate. But that actually isn't a debate. That's just AO1ing and describing what nature is and then what nurture is. It's not actually bringing them together and understanding that concept that it is a debate. So it is about the relative contribution of each of these to explain a behaviour. Okay, so that's just something that on the face of it seems really easy to answer in the exam, but actually, you know, the understanding often is lacking there. So just one to keep a mindful eye over. So well done, guys. Submissions and answers to that session tonight.
Really good. So had some great answers in the chat tonight, haven't we? Especially on such a hard topic as well, and you really did challenge them tonight. So 3rd of June is your exam, 5 days. Before, I'm going to ask Laura and Anna to give you some their top tip for issues and debates before we go, so hang around. But I'll just let you know that tomorrow we're back for our paper 3 clinic All three of us are back, and what we're going to do is the same for our paper 1 and paper 2 clinic. We're just going to sit here, we're going to answer every question, or as many as we can, that you put in the chat. Any question that we haven't answered tonight maybe, or tomorrow, you can get in touch with us on Instagram. We are answering questions in messages and on our feed, and that's at Tutor to You Psych. Don't forget, you can re-watch this back. A lot has been covered tonight, a lot of specialist terms. You've had some top tips from Anna and Laura. Watch it back, watch all our others back from last year. We've done this before, we've done some of the online optional topics as well. You can go ahead and revise them. So before we wrap up for tonight, Laura, we'll come to you. Final top tip for tonight, because you're going to give us loads more tomorrow anyway, but final top tip for tonight for issues and debates.
Final tip that I probably haven't already said is make sure you are terminology specific. So instead of saying that something's just deterministic, state whether it's biological, environmental, psychic, soft, hard. So make sure you know the spec wording and make sure you're specific with your again, same with reductionism as well.
Great, because that can, however good it is, lack of terms will stop you from getting top marks. Fabulous. And Anna, wrap us up with your final top tip for tonight.
I would just say, just to know the specification, all those little levels of explanation, things that they pull out of the specification that might surprise you. So as well as knowing your big hitters for your issues and debates, know all the little terms surrounding those issues and debates, because those are the ones that are going to trip you up. I'd just like to say I'm really happy to see lots of my students from BRGS in the chat. Well done, folks.
Shout out. That is a good tip to end on, actually, because we did see, was it last year we saw, where did we see a question on levels of explanation? Was it last year?
Yeah, it was a 16 marker last year.
16 marker on levels of explanation. So a generally generic essay on reductionism wouldn't have actually hit the mark, would it? So know the spec, know your terms. Good starting point for the next 5 days. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll see you at 6 o'clock tomorrow. Come prepared with all your questions, and we'll see you later. Thank you, everybody.
Bye, guys.